I'm Deontay Jenkins, and here's what's on my mind. Having a good eye goes beyond just crafting an eye-pleasing image. Anyone can learn compositional guidelines to create a technically aesthetically pleasing image. Seeing goes beyond aesthetics and beyond composition, and it's the key to creating a truly memorable image. It goes deeper and hits the viewer on a deep, personal level that sticks with them forever. A developed eye sees the story. The composition is just a tool to help you tell it. This is a picture of a hand. And this is a picture of a hand from Tim Booth. This is someone crying. And this is from the end of Call Me By Your Name. Now what's the difference? Why does one image make you feel more than the other? The difference is the artist's eye and their ability to see. But how do you develop your eye? How do you learn to see? How do you develop your artistic eye to the point where mundane everyday life becomes a work of art in your head? Before we get into that though, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you think it's any good. You can check out my latest short film here and share this video with a friend if you thought it was cool. And now that that's out of the way, seeing. How do we learn to see? I mean, we all have eyes, right? Don't we see things every day? What do I mean by seeing? I showed you similar images before and asked you what the difference is. And yes, like I said before, the image is the developed eye versus the undeveloped eye. But in actuality, the real difference is the ability to tell a story using visuals. You see, every visual art form is a storytelling art form. We communicate through stories, but those stories aren't just auditory or the written word. From cave paintings to classical and fine art to photography and cinematography, it's all about telling stories. Every moment has a story, and every story can be told visually. The biggest difference between these two images isn't a level of skill, but a level of storytelling. That's where developing your eye comes in. But how is that done? How do you develop your eye and how do you see? As simple as it may sound, in order to see, you have to look. You have to start looking for stories and moments in everyday life. And I'm not talking about the obvious ones either. You can find a story in a brick wall if your eye is developed enough. It's the communication of one's thoughts that separates simple, good images from ones that stick with you forever. For instance, this is a street photograph taken by Diane Arbus. If you describe this picture in its most basic sense, it's a portrait of a woman looking away from the camera. But that's not how it feels. It goes way beyond that. Everything from the way she's standing to her facial expression to the pearls around her neck to the way she's clutching her purse tells a story. I'm willing to bet that this woman was standing in this position or a similar position when Diane Arbus happened upon her and discovered the story to be told. What that story is open to interpretation, but you cannot deny that she captured a moment in time that forces the mind to construct what happened before and after this image was taken. Take a moment and think of what this story could be. For me, I see a wealthy woman waiting on her late ride. She's waiting by a curb. A woman of her wealth would not be hanging out here for any other reason but to wait on a ride. Her look feels uncomfortable and irritable to me. The pearls in her handbag imply wealth. All of these things help build the story in my head, but the story may be completely different to you. Drop a comment down below, let me know what you think about this image, and what story you feel that it's telling. Moments like this are around us every day, and not just in street photography. The most basic and often overlooked style of photography is studio portraits. How do you tell a story in a studio with a subject that's just sitting there waiting for direction? Richard Avedon is one of the most well-known portrait photographers of all time. He's known for his simple yet expressive portraits of anyone from celebrities to regular everyday people. But one thing you'll notice about his portraits is the personality brought to each of them. It seems to match the subject. His portraits don't consist of boring poses or even unnecessarily expressive poses. Instead, he's found a way to tell a story beyond what's seen with every portrait that he takes. If the poses are simple or expressive, it seems like they're supposed to be, almost as if he's captured a moment in time and a piece of the subject's personality. What he would often do is talk to his subjects while he was taking photographs and catch them in a moment, which led to real photos that told a story. It's not just in still photography either. Now check this out. This is a shot from The Godfather that tells a visual story. And to illustrate that, I'm going to keep the sound off. Many of you already know this scene, because let's face it, who hasn't seen The Godfather? But that doesn't make the visual language any less powerful. This to me is the scene where Michael truly becomes the head of the family. A scene where he asserts his opinion and speaks in the most dominant way about family business. Everything would tell you to frame this in a traditionally powerful way, as in shot from a low angle. Instead, Michael's the lowest in frame and the camera slowly comes down to his level and creeps in on him. Notice how everyone who will eventually object to what he's saying are being framed out, and Tom, the family's counsel, is framed behind him in full support and agreement of what Michael has to say. Everything from the way he's sitting to his swollen face similar to his father's screams power. This is visual storytelling. This is a developed eye. This scene could have been shot in an infinite amount of ways, but what makes it so powerful is the way that Francis Ford Coppola and Gordon Willis decided to shoot the scene. They took the story that was there and visualized it, and not in the obvious way. The images stick with you because the people that were capturing it saw the story. The great thing about visual storytelling and filmmaking is we have editing to assist our visuals. So you can take a moment like this from 1930s All Quiet on the Western Front and create a story using multiple visuals. Each shot tells a bit of the story. The horrors of war, the butterfly referencing back to a moment from earlier in the film, Paul's face and his joy at seeing this butterfly, the sniper on the battlefield a ways away, the risk he's willing to take to have this connection to home in a simpler time, the constant reminder of danger that he's in, all without a line of dialogue. Each shot is a little piece of the story that perfectly captures the moment, the tone, the feel of what's going on. You don't get that without learning to see. You don't get that without developing your eye. Every shot has a certain feel to it. The right sequence of shots can make the audience feel a certain way. In order to be able to do that, you have to see. You see, your eye has to see the story before you press record or click the shutter. It's your eye that captures the story, not the camera or the paintbrush. Learning to see is learning to be curious and open to the small things in life. Not only that, learning to visualize them and store them in your memory so that you can reference them later. Seeing isn't just looking or composing. It's creating the story around you and letting the story around you influence your creation. It's a cycle between your mind's eye and your subject, letting each inform and build upon the other. So this is what I want you to do. If you're a visual artist, whether that be a photographer, a cinematographer, a painter, a director, whatever, I want you to go out with a camera and look for the little moments in life. This doesn't have to be a fancy camera, just a cell phone camera, and start taking pictures of the little moments around you. Look for the stories that are right in front of your face, waiting to be told visually. Not for the obvious stories, look for the stories where there seems like there is no story to be told. This is a photograph by Robert Frank. Technically isn't really a picture of anything, and yet somehow it says so much. You see, when you have a developed eye, anything, even an open window overlooking a small mountainous town, can tell a story. I want you to look at this and tell me the story that you see in the comments below. What does this photograph make you feel? What is it saying? What is the story being told? It's only when you have a developed eye that you can find a moment like this and use composition to its fullest potential. A developed eye sees the story. Composition is just a tool to help you tell it. But then again, what do I know? Thanks again for watching, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Be sure to give this video a like, share it with your friends. Again, you can check out my latest short film by looking in the comments below or clicking above. Once again, I'm Deontay Jenkins. You can follow me here on social media, and make sure you come back next time because I think you're pretty cool. Peace.